Today, Taiwan intercept China fighter jets and hits back Beijing in South China Sea. China's military drills demonstrate the country as a threat to the entire region and have shown even more clearly the true nature of the communist regime, Taiwan's leader has said. Multiple Chinese aircraft flew across the midline of the Taiwan Strait and into Taiwan's air defense identification zone on Friday and Saturday. This caused Taiwan to respond by scrambling jets to intercept, but the communist regime claims they were military exercises. Speaking during a news conference this morning, President Tsai Ing-wen denounced China's drills. She said, "He believed that these activities are no help to China's international image, and what's more have put Taiwan's people even more on their guard, understanding even better the true nature of the Chinese communist regime." Additionally, other countries in the region also have a better understanding of the threat posed by China. The Chinese communists must restrain themselves and not provoke. President Tsai was also asked about footage released by China's Air Force yesterday. The force put out a video showing exercises by its nuclear-capable H-6 bombers, which have been involved in many Chinese flybys of Taiwan. One montage shows a simulation of an H-6 attack against an airbase that appears by its runway layout to be the main U.S. Air Force base on Guam. Responding, President Tsai said China's recent activities were a threat broader than just to Taiwan. She added, "China's existence is indeed aggressive and will bring a definite threat." The exercises took place as U.S. Undersecretary for Economic Affairs Keith Krach was in Taipei, the most senior State Department officials to come in 4 decades. Wang Mei-hua, Taiwan economy minister, also said today the island plans to hold a formal economic dialogue with the United States, after having what she called informal talks with Krach and his team on issues like supply chain restructure. When asked by journalists about the military exercise during a Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson press conference, Beijing said it was justifiable and necessary action taken in response to the current situation across the Taiwan Strait. Spokesperson Wang Wenbin added, "Taiwan is an inalienable part of China's territory, and the Taiwan question is purely China's internal affair which allows no foreign interference. Any attempt to contain China with the Taiwan question or solicit foreign support will lead nowhere. China has the firm will, full confidence and sufficient capability to foil any interference by external forces and the secessionist acts of Taiwan independence forces and resolutely safeguard national sovereignty and territorial integrity." Wang Yang, who heads a largely ceremonial advisory body to China's parliament and is the number 4 leader of the ruling Communist Party, on Sunday did not directly mention the recent drills, but he reiterated that Taiwan independence was a dead end, and that relying on foreigners to pump yourself up was to take a risk out of desperation. "It will only bring Taiwan risks it cannot bear. We will not tolerate any harm to the country's sovereignty, security and development interests." Further friction seems likely as Taiwan and the United States continue to deepen relations, with Taiwan angling for a free trade agreement. Meanwhile, Taiwan has issued a stern warning to China after Beijing repeatedly sent warplanes across a boundary separating the two countries in recent days. On a single day last week, 19 Chinese Air Force planes including 12 J-16 fighter jets crossed into Taiwan's side of the so-called median line, which divides the Taiwan Strait, a body of water between Taiwan and China. More recently, China's Air Force sent 2 Y-8 anti-submarine aircraft into the southwest region of Taiwan's air defense identification zone yesterday, prompting the latter to scramble fighter jets in response. Now, Joseph Wu, Taiwanese foreign minister, has warned China to back off following the incidents. He said, "Taiwan call on the international community to condemn the CCP for its dangerous and provocative words and deeds threatening peace and the status quo." China has said it does not recognize the median line, a matter on which both sides disagree. The Chinese government also considers Taiwan an island nation around 100 miles off the east coast of the Chinese mainland to be a part of China's territory. However, Taiwan is self-ruled and insists it is an independent nation. Beijing's foreign ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin said in a daily press briefing on Monday, "The Taiwan region is an inalienable part of China's territory. The so-called median line is non-existent." Regarding China's stance on the median line, Taiwan's Joseph Wu told reporters, according to The Guardian, The median line has been a symbol of preventing military conflicts and maintaining peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait for many years. The Chinese Foreign Ministry's comment is equivalent of destroying the status quo. The situation between China and Taiwan has been further intensified by the US, which has recently engaged in high-level diplomatic talks with the latter. China has reacted furiously to the official engagements between Taiwan and the US, which it sees as a political provocation according to its foreign ministry. Beijing also fears increased ties the two countries further enables Taiwan to be independent. In August, the US sent Alex Azar, the country's health secretary, to Taiwan to discuss coronavirus and other matters. Of the visit, China's foreign affairs spokesman Zhao Lijian warned China was firmly opposed to meetings between the two countries. He added, on issues involving China's core interests, some people in the United States must not have any illusions and wishful thinking. Those who play with fire will get burned. More recently, U.S. Undersecretary of State Keith Krach visited Taiwan last week. Asked to comment on the visit, Chinese official Wang Wenbin said, "It is a political provocation that emboldens Taiwan independence, separatists and undermines China-US relations as well as peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. China firmly opposes and strongly condemns it. We will take countermeasures, including against relevant individuals. The US acts will have further negative consequences on China-US coordination and cooperation on major regional and international issues, for which it bears full responsibility." The numerous recent incidents of Chinese warplanes crossing the median line between China and Taiwan is without modern precedent. Furthermore, China is ratcheting up the risk of military confrontation in the Taiwan Strait, as Beijing seeks to deter Taipei from continuing to deepen ties with the US and other like-minded democracies. People's Liberation Army aircraft repeatedly breached the median line between Taiwan and the Chinese mainland last week, in the latest of a series of military exercises in the area. The Chinese pilots signaled a willingness to continue the practice, telling Taiwanese personnel who attempted to warn them away that there is no median line. The Taipei-based China Times newspaper reported Friday, citing unnamed military officials. The report was widely circulated by Chinese state media, with the PLA's Eastern Theater Command responding to one post by urging citizens to discard any illusions and prepare to fight. The PLA Air Force separately released a video Saturday showing H-6 bombers making a simulated strike on a runway that looked similar to one at Andersen Air Force Base on Guam, a key staging area for any U.S. support for Taiwan. The risks of war are rising considerably, and redrawing the map over the median line in the Taiwan Strait is a very obvious step by Beijing to not only raise the pressure, but also justify use of force, said Malcolm Davis, a former defense advisor to the government and now a senior analyst at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute in Canberra. These aggressive probes are perhaps designed to provoke the Taiwanese Air Force to shoot first, and then Beijing has all the justification it needs. Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen hosted a senior U.S. diplomat and a Japanese delegation in Taipei last week in the latest show of international support for her government. The officials attended the funeral Saturday of Taiwan's first democratically elected president, Lee Teng-hui, whose policies toward Beijing were at the center of the last big military showdown between China and the U.S. in the Strait in the late 1990s. Beijing regards the island as part of its territory, and reserves the right to annex it by force, even though the two sides have been ruled separately for more than 70 years and have deep social and economic ties. Tsai, who views Taiwan as a sovereign nation, has courted greater U.S. military and economic support since her election in 2016. The incursions across the median line, which the U.S. established in 1954 to prevent a conflict, signaled Chinese President Xi Jinping's displeasure with Trump administration overtures to Taiwan, including the visit last week by U.S. Undersecretary of State Keith Krach. 19 Chinese warplanes, including fighter jets and bombers, crossed the center line Saturday, according to Taiwan's defense ministry. Taiwan scrambled fighters and deployed an air defense missile system, following similar action the prior day. Chinese military aircraft have crossed the median line 5 times since March 2019, after respecting the buffer zone for 2 decades. No planes breached the boundary Sunday after Kratch's departure. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin told a regular news briefing Monday that there is no so-called median line. He vowed countermeasures against U.S. officials involved in the political provocation of visiting Taipei. These actions don't help China's international image, and they also put the Taiwanese public even more on their guard. They make the public better understand the true nature of the Chinese communist regime and make other countries in the region understand the threat China poses. The Chinese communists must restrain themselves, and not provoke. The Japanese delegation to Lee's funeral was led by former Japanese Prime Minister Yoshiro Mori, who conveyed Yoshihide Suga's wishes for smooth and peaceful relations with Taiwan. The Dalai Lama, who China views as a separatist leader, also paid his respects via video to Lee, who died in July. China's scenario-based military exercises in the Taiwan Strait were intended to promote the country's security and sovereignty, Senior Colonel Ren Guozhang, a defense ministry spokesman, told reporters Friday in Beijing. Ren blamed US and Taiwan for frequently stirring up trouble.